Hello and welcome to the World Cetacean Alliance second stop on our virtual world tour, where we are traveling virtually all over the globe to visit our partners as they open up after COVID and share with us the incredible places where they operate. This is the second night of our two-night kickoff. Yesterday we visited the beautiful Azores, and tonight we are in sunny Madeira. In the next 90 minutes, we will be taking a virtual tour of Madeira. So pack your virtual bags and get in that virtual airport queue. We are just about to take off and head that way. If you've always wanted to ride in a basket going 40 miles per hour down a steep hill while dodging traffic, Madeira might be the island for you. Madeira also has beautiful flowers, stunning sea views, hiking, waterfalls, and an abundance of wildlife in its surrounding waters. Tonight, we will learn all about the island while also learning all about the whales, dolphins, and porpoises that call it home. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here with us tonight or today or this afternoon, wherever you're calling in from around the world. We want to make this interactive and fun. So we do want to hear from you in the comments. I already see people sharing with us where they're from. We'd love to hear, why are you joining us tonight? Do you want to learn more about tourism there? Do you want to visit? Do you want to learn more about the whales and dolphins there? It looks like, oh, we have a few people from Madeira, so that's always great. We have Marco from Italy. We have Fernando from Spain. So we're getting a lot of people calling in from all over the world. It's really wonderful to see that. We are live streaming tonight on both Facebook and YouTube, so bear with us as technical difficulties are a way of life in this setting, but we are going to make it an adventure and push through those challenges. So I'm Amanda Zimmerman. I am your host and moderator tonight. I am an individual partner on the WCA Global Council. My hope is that you hear very little from me tonight and that we spend most of our time focused on our speakers or experts that are going to tell us more about Madeira. So let's take a look at that itinerary so that we can start talking about cetaceans. Now that's a big word, cetaceans. All it means is whales, dolphins, and porpoises. So if you didn't know that, you learned a new word tonight. Now on our virtual flight over to Madeira, we will start out tonight sharing with you a little bit more about the WCA and why we care so much about sustainable and responsible tourism. We will then circle high above the island on our final descent down to the short runway in Funchal with Rosie Bainton from Madeira Islands Tourism, who will give us an overview of traveling to the island. So we'll get that 35,000 of Madeira. Our first tour guide tonight is Luis Fritas. He is taking us virtually to Museu de Baleia, where Luis will be sharing with us how the Madeira Whale Museum has been collaborating with companies in Madeira, and he'll share with us the history of cetaceans in that region. Our next two tour guides are going to be from our partner, Lobo Sanda. Now, I know a few weeks ago, we did a virtual whale watching tour with the WCA. If you missed it, it is up on YouTube, so you can go take a look at that. But after seeing what this team has been putting together, this is very similar. We are going tonight get a free virtual whale watch trip. They have an incredible presentation here. Joanna and Paula share amazing pictures and stories from their extensive whale watch experience. They remind us that we are the guests out there and what incredible diversity lies within the waters around Madeira and what you can expect if you go on one of their tours. And then our final guide tonight will be the wonderful Philippe Moreau and the founder of Greener Act. If you haven't downloaded that app yet, I recommend it. You can download it now so that when he comes up, you can ask him questions. Philippe will teach us how we can see upcoming community projects and support local causes to make the world more sustainable, to make tourism more sustainable. After our wonderful tours of Madeira, we will then be able to turn the night over to you, our viewers. so that you can get all of your questions answered. Jess is going to monitor our YouTube comments so that we get as many of those questions answered as possible. Now, as an avid tourist, I have actually traveled to every continent. I've seen humpbacks breaching off of the coast of Angola. I've seen minkies surfacing between ice floes in the Antarctic Circle, and I've watched orcas play in the Puget Sound. And I found that not all the experiences I took part in had a respect for the community and the wildlife. I thought some of the tour operators seemed like they cared more about making margaritas than actually respecting the wildlife around them. So the more I traveled, the more I started to seek out communities, businesses, and whale watching operators that offered sustainable and responsible trips. That way I felt that I wasn't contributing to the problem so much as helping to fund solutions. And this is how I stumbled onto the World Cetacean Alliance. So the WCA is the world's largest marine conservation partnership in the world, with over 140 partner organizations, businesses, and individuals in 33 countries. We work closely to protect whales, dolphins, and porpoises, to preserve ocean, river, and sea habitats, and support the communities that live and rely beside them, that rely on and live beside them. All around the world, thousands of cetaceans are currently being kept in captivity in zoos and marine parks. Obviously, this has a negative impact on the animals that are being kept in captivity, but it also encourages the capture of more wild cetaceans from populations that are already under threat. We want to see this end. And this is why we work with our partners to develop programs that will protect cetaceans. One of the ways that we can do this is by promoting sustainable and responsible tourism. The tourism industry is 10% of the global economy, and so many of our cetacean friends live in close to communities that rely heavily on tourism. By itself, the whale watching industry is a $2.1 billion industry. So take a guess, how many people go on whale watching excursions every year? How many people do you think take that excursion? Well, 20 million people every single year go whale watching. So while tourism can have a negative impact, sustainable and responsible tourism can have a wonderfully positive impact on our communities and our cetaceans. When we support responsible and sustainable tourism, operators and activities, we help support local communities and encourage them to invest in coastal sustainability and environmental development programs which benefit our cetacean friends. What is truly exciting is that more and more of us tourists are demanding it. We no longer want to see cetaceans in captivity, but we want to see them in their natural habitats. We are more than aware than ever the impact of our activities on the environment. And the WCA is a wonderful bridge between NGOs, researchers, whale watch companies, and tourists that can help make tourism a force for good. The WCA supports a wide variety of programs that create sustainable and responsible interactions with cetaceans. Just a couple of weeks ago, if you've been watching our Facebook or our YouTube feed, you will have seen we launched our Responsible Whale Watching Guides online course. So now anyone in the world can now learn how to be a responsible guide. We also provide certification for responsible whale and dolphin companies, so you can check before you book your next adventure. We work with companies like Club Med, Virgin Holidays, and TripAdvisor to promote responsible tourism operators, and someday hope that those will be the only options available on major platforms. We have also recognized 4 locations around the globe as World Heritage Sites. These locations celebrate the importance of cetaceans through culture, heritage, education, research, and conservation. We try to make it as easy as possible for us tourists to make responsible and sustainable choices to interact with whales, dolphins, and porpoises while supporting the communities and preserving the habitats that these cetaceans live in. Of course, we would love for you to help us on that mission. Your donations help us fund the certification programs, campaigns like Stop Sea Blast campaigns, and many other projects. Jess will drop the link to our site, worldcetaceanalliance.org, in the comments. Feel free to open a new tab and donate, but also open that and take a look at those certified whale watching operators so that the next time you go out, you know that you are choosing a responsible and sustainable choice. Now, we are now well over Madeira and looking out of our plane windows down onto those beautiful beaches below us. And we are going to go ahead and welcome Rosie.
Well, hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you doing?
Very well. The weather has been great here in Madeira. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your words.
Yes, you know, I do have a question before I hand it off to you.
Go on.
I saw a picture of Madeira that had snow. Does it snow there?
Well, that's an interesting question. We do have very, very high peaks here in Madeira. They go up to about 1,800 meters of altitude. So it's not a destination where you'll find a lot of snow, but definitely on the peaks, there will be some when the temperature drops. So thank you very much for that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
All right, I'll hand it over to you.
Share my presentation. So, good evening all, or morning to some of you. I would, first of all, on behalf of the Madeira Promotion Bureau, I would like to thank the World Cetacean Alliance for inviting us to be part of this extraordinary event, where we can listen to some fantastic insights from our sea experts, not only sea experts, but also sustainable experts. It is really an honor for us to be here today and support organizations and partners who have made a step in the sustainable direction, which we believe to be the way forward. So talking a little bit about Madeira. Madeira, officially known, for those who don't know, as the autonomous region of Madeira, has recently been named one of the safest destinations for 2021 by the European Best Destination. It is one of the 2 autonomous regions in Portugal, as we heard. You had the webinar for the Azores yesterday, so that's the second. Madeira is an archipelago situated in the North Atlantic Ocean in a region known as the Macaronesia, just under 250 miles north of the Canary Islands and 320 miles west of Morocco. Madeira is geologically located on the African tectonic plate, although the archipelago is culturally, economically, and politically European. The archipelago includes the islands of Madeira, which you can see over here, the main island, Porto Santo, the small island here with an extension of 11 kilometers, so quite small. These 2 are inhabited, and then we have the Desertas Islands and the Selvagens, which are all on this small map over here. I know that most of you associate the Atlantic Ocean to be cold. However, due to its location, Madeira has a very mild and moderate subtropical climate, and many microclimates are found in different elevations, just like we mentioned at the beginning. So it could snow on the top of the island. At sea level, we'll find that in the winter, we could have about, on average, 18 degrees Celsius and 26 degrees Celsius in the summer. So this is based on an average, of course. Quite similar to this, as you can see down here on my presentation, the ocean temperature, you'll find that it's quite similar. So it's 18 degrees Celsius as well in the winter on an average again, and 22 degrees in the summer. So you don't need to be very brave to jump in the waters here in Madeira. as it's the weather and the water is normally very nice and very pleasant, very cozy as well. As you know, Portugal, or for those who don't, Portugal is known to be the country with most hours of solar exposure, and Madeira really takes up on that slogan, as it's situated on a lower latitude than Portugal. It makes an average of around 8 hours of sun exposure, which is a lot. So as you can imagine, it almost feels like an island of eternal spring. Moving on. As you can see, according to the European classification Natura 2000, Madeira has around 19 special areas of conservation and special areas of protection, some of which are whole sub-archipelagos, such as, going back to this first slide, the Selvagens Island down here and the Desertas. So the whole islands are considered to be a natural protection area. So obviously all of this information is not to bore you, but it is really to help you understand that Madeira is, as a whole, vastly diverse, and it really holds so much biodiversity, which enables all these fantastic activities that I can mention to you just now. Levada and trekkings. Levada is known to be a remarkable network of walking paths that extend across the whole island, more than 1,350 miles across the whole island. So it's fantastic for hiking. Mountain biking is also an option, canyoning, trail running, bird watching, diving and snorkeling, surf, windsurf, stand-up paddleboarding, canyoning, paragliding. And obviously we have the fantastic laurel forest that has been UNESCO heritage since 1999. So that's quite outstanding. And as you can see, some of the activities that I mentioned not long ago. And last but not least, the dolphin and whale watching can be one of them. I would like to show you a quick video. Well, as you can see, Amanda, this is a great combination of things to do in a destination. And obviously, if you combine that with great wine, great food, great people, it's not only a great place to visit, but also to live in. And so come and visit Madeira and let me know if you have any questions.
Stunning, stunning. I know for me, I didn't know much about Madeira before we had this adventure. And I feel like I've totally missed out. Why did I go to Malaga? I should have gone to Madeira. What an incredible place. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rosie. And we'll be seeing you again at the Q&A. So if you have any questions for Rosie, please go ahead and add those to the chat. And we are going to welcome in Luis Fritas. Luis is our first tour guide here. He has spent 25 years studying cetaceans and is currently the principal scientist at the Madeira Whale Museum. with 5 scientific research projects on the ecology and conservation of cetaceans in Madeira and Macaronesia, which is the second big word that we're going to use tonight. But if you don't know what it means, I learned that word. Luis can tell me how badly I'm mispronouncing it, but I believe that refers to Azores, Canary, Madeira, and Cabo Verde. And Luis can tell us again how terribly I butchered the way I pronounced it. He has published 3 books and over 20 scientific articles. Luis, how are you tonight?
Thank you very much, Amanda. It is a pleasure to be here with you all and to learn from you and to share also a bit of our experience. And Macaronesia is not bad.
Macaronesia. Okay, I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Luis.
So I'll probably start sharing the presentation. Here we go.
Please, that would be wonderful.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it. I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. I would like to thank the World Cetacean Alliance and the whale watching operator Lobosonda for the invitation to participate in this event. I will share with you the work done by the Madeira Whale Museum over the years and its contribution to the conservation of cetaceans and the management of related human activities at sea in Madeira Archipelago. Madeira was and is an archipelago with very limited resources. Whaling contributed to the economic growth and to the livelihood of many families, especially in the village of Canissal. However, it also contributed to the sperm whale population decline in the Atlantic, even if in a small scale, when compared with the industrial operations carried out in the 19th and 20th century. The number of whales hunted in Madeira during the 1960s and 70s decreased, making the operation less viable. At the same time, the increasing public awareness about the risk of extinction of some whale species also had its local effects. In 1981, whaling ended voluntarily in the archipelago. In the picture on the right is Mr. Eleutério Reis, the last Madeira whaling company manager, symbolically delivering the last harpoon used in Madeira to catch sperm whales. Regional legislation was passed in 1986 to protect all the marine mammals in the Madeira Economic Exclusive Zone. It was the consequence of the International Whaling Commission moratorium on whaling and international pressure and awareness to protect whales. In parallel, the Museu da Baleia, in English Whale Museum, opened in 1990 at Canissal, the center of the previous whaling activities in the archipelago. The purpose of the municipal museum was to preserve the cultural, heritage, and historical memory of whaling in the archipelago, and to promote the study and conservation of sperm whales. Curiously, the last manager of the whaling company was one of the promoters and first director of the museum until 1993, when he passed away. Over the years, the institution redefined its strategy and consolidated its mission and objectives. The institution mission is achieved through 4 pillars of its activity: history, museology, education, and scientific research. Our motto is an open door to knowledge, a window to the sea. The first pillar is history of whaling, by researching and preserving its heritage in the archipelago. The museology, through its permanent and temporary exhibits, is a powerful tool to communicate. It can make the general public aware, both local and tourists, of the memory of past exploitations of whales and the challenges and pressures that cetaceans and the marine environment face in the modern world. Education, with programs and initiatives targeting specific local publics like children and teenagers at school, the general public, and the elderly. And the scientific research, done with a long-term perspective through ongoing projects and initiatives promoted or led by the museum, such as the Cetacean Stranding Network, Cetaceans for Identification Catalogs, and monitoring cetacean populations. And finally, communication of the knowledge generated by the research to the scientific community, relevant authorities, and policymakers. Commercial whaling started in Madeira timidly in 1995. With a big game fishing boat publicizing trips to see dolphins as a way to complement its main fishing activity. Over the following decade, the number of boats doing whale watching grew very slowly and changed from an opportunistic secondary activity to the boat's main one. The activity has been growing ever since, leading to management measures that have been taken by the Madeira regional government, supported by the museum's scientific research and technical advice. Let's put into context the whale watching expansion in Madeira. Between 2000 and 2004, the museum carried out the first systematic surveys to update the inventory of cetacean species in the archipelago, collected data on the main species distribution, relative abundance, and seasonality, and studied for the first time the short-term impact of whale watching on cetaceans in the island. As a result of the project, management actions were proposed and implemented, namely a voluntary code of conduct oversighted by the museum and implemented by most whale watching operators, and a proposal of regulation for the whale watching activity, which became the basis of the legislation that came into effect in 2013, regulating not only the observation of cetaceans, but other marine vertebrates such as marine turtles, seabirds, and the Mediterranean monk seal. In subsequent years, more projects were carried out to improve the knowledge about cetaceans and the whale watching activity in Madeira, including line transect surveys to estimate absolute abundance, distribution, and habitat use of the main cetacean species, identification of crucial areas for cetaceans where activities such as calving, feeding, socializing, and resting took place, and study the exposure of the main species to the whale watching operation. As a result, further measures were proposed by the museum and implemented by the Madeira regional government, including definition of maximum number of boats operating in the archipelago by groups of harbors, and a whale watching exclusion zone where crucial activities of the most exposed species were taking place, the grey polygon in the map on the east of Madeira Island. The establishment of a site of community interest in the coastal waters of Madeira in the context of the European Habitat Directive and integrated in the Natura 2000 network. The Six Cetaceans Madeira is an important legal instrument to promote the spatial management, the conservation and sustainable use of marine resources in the archipelago coastal waters, mostly aimed at cetaceans, marine turtles, seabirds, and the monk seal. Several whale watching companies, among them Lobosonda, have collaborated over the years with the museum's research efforts. The opportunistic data collected by whale watching companies is an important complement to the more dedicated scientific surveys. The commercial nature of the whale watching operations has some natural limitations to data collection due to the need to maximize encounters with cetaceans within a short trip. Among others, it lacks spatial coverage because the search is restricted to the sheltered waters of the islands and in the vicinity of the harbors of operation. Those limitations may generate biases in the data that should be taken into account. However, whale watching companies can generate great quantities of data with good temporal coverage, which is difficult, if not impossible, to obtain with dedicated surveys. Among other contributions, these data are relevant to study rarest species or events, to understand the interactions between cetaceans and whale watching activities, and works as an important complement to scientific surveys. Marine ecosystems are under increasing pressure from human activities. Whaling was the first industrialized global activity at sea, with devastating consequences. It shows us the importance of setting limits to the exploitation of biological resources. Human activities are usually driven by economic interests, which presently rely on a continuous growth paradigm. Unfortunately, that view collides with the obvious limits of the planet, including limits to the exploitation and damage that natural systems can withstand without permanent consequences or even collapse. The sustainable use of marine resources depends on finding a balance between their use and preserving the biodiversity and function of the systems being used. To achieve such a balance, it is crucial to understand the biology and ecology of the marine ecosystems and their components, including cetaceans, and to evaluate the impact of human activities on them, whether it is, for example, fisheries, whale watching, or shipping. It is also important to have in place management frameworks and policies that define conservation objectives. assess impacts, and take measures to maintain those impacts within acceptable limits. There is also the need for a medium and long-term perspective, as implementing policies takes time and knowledge, and things are not always done well at the first time. Besides, knowledge evolves in marine ecosystems, human activities, and its impacts are dynamic and synergetic. Monitoring is important to understand the evolution of marine ecosystems and the effectiveness of the management measures. Whenever knowledge is absent or poor, a precautionary approach should be taken. Even more, in insular marine environments, especially oceanic islands like Madeira, where local ecosystems are spatially limited, unique, vulnerable, and less resilient, and are sustained by oligotrophic marine environments where primary productivity tends to be very low. Finally, I would like to acknowledge all the people and institutions that work and support the museum's research and conservation efforts towards a healthy relationship between humans and the marine environment. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Luis. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And now that you've introduced us to all of that information, it's going to make us even more excited to go out with Joanna and Paula in just a few moments here to learn more about the whale watching there and Lobo Sonda. So welcome, Joanna and Paula. Joanna began working at Lobo Sonda in 2015 and eventually took the business over from her parents, who were the founders. She uses her leadership skills to find innovative approaches to expand the company's values, particularly those around education and sustainability. Paula was born and raised in Malta. She studied and worked around the world before settling in Madeira in 2017. In her role, she is able to inspire change by educating guests on the impact some of their activities have on the cetacean populations in Madeira. Joanna and Paula, how are you tonight?
Thank you, Amanda. Well, we're great, Amanda. Nice to see you.
Wonderful. Nice to see you too.
Thank you for organizing the event.
Of course. I'm so excited to hear more. I know you have such amazing pictures and stories to share with us. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. I'm sharing your screen now.
Amanda, I would like to ask you just to share our video first.
Yes, definitely.
What we'll be doing.
Awesome. We will start with your video.
Lobo Sonda is a whale watching company that has been working since 2003. So for almost 2 decades, we have been working on respectful marine encounters with cetaceans.
What I love most about being a whale watching guide is obviously the encounters at sea. Every day is special, every encounter is unique and different, and it's just a pleasure to share that with our guests. And also, at the end of the day, it's just about creating an appreciation for our oceans, and cetaceans are just incredible ambassadors to do this. Whale watching isn't just about whale watching, it should also be about raising awareness, and we try to do this at sea and also on land through different initiatives, including educational platforms. One of our more recent projects is the Lobo Sonda Kids Club, which should be an educational platform that should inspire children to just love the ocean, feel comfortable in the ocean, and learn more about cetaceans and other marine life.
Lobo Sonda is very proud to be a WCA partner, since this validates what we have been working hard for the last 2 decades and reflects completely what we as a company stand for.
So, hello everyone, I'm Joanna and I'll be talking a little bit about Lobo Sonda, how we got here and what we as a company stand for. So everything started in the year 2000 with the purchase of Ribeira Brava, a small fishing boat by my father. He purchased the boat to save it from being scraped. A lot of boats, these kinds of boats back then were being replaced by more modern and faster versions. So in an aim to keep tradition, my father bought the boat. He then went into a journey of 3 years, of a restoration of 3 years on the Bay of Câmara de Lobos. After those 3 years, Ribera Brava went back into the water, and after experimenting a little bit with what kind of activities they wanted to do with the boat, my parents ended up surrendering for their fascination by cetaceans. And so 2003 marks the beginning of a small family business. A big part of what we do is how we do it. So we are the guests out there sums up perfectly our philosophy and what we stand for. Every day we go out, we just remind ourselves that we are the guests out there and behave accordingly. This company was built on this belief, and we are still committed to it. So we reinforce our philosophy in various different ways. First of all, by setting realistic expectations. We share our sighting statistics in our shop, also on our website, so they can be easily found. And we also never guarantee any sightings. This is a very unpopular commercial approach, but we need our guests to know that every time they go out, they might come back without a sighting. We take nature as it is, and so should our guests. We work with small groups from 12 to 16 people. This ensures that we have a more personal contact with each and every one of our guests, and gives us the chance to have a more educational, experience. We also share our daily blog with pictures of our tours. So this gives a chance for our guests to just sit back, relax, and enjoy every sighting. And later they can take a look at the pictures that we took. We also take advantage of our platforms, our info center in Calheta. We have various informational and educational material, and our website. It's not just a commercial website. We also have lots of updated information about marine life and petitions. So it's very wide. We also use social media, of course. We have two boats, Ribera Brava, the one that I told you a little bit about in the beginning, for a more traditional and relaxed tour. And then we have Stanella, our speedboat, for the sportier version of the tour. Teamwork is, of course, a big part of our job. So we work with a skipper, a spotter, and a guide. The spotter is a very important part of this teamwork, since he spots the animals ahead of us and gives our skipper great insights and important information on what kind of animals we will be encountering and how they're behaving, what they are doing. So this ensures that our skipper can have a more it's a more cautious approach to respecting what the animals are doing. And then, of course, the guide, who's responsible for answering questions and just the educational part in general. We also give our team always the chance to stay on top of the game by allowing them to just be part of various trainings and workshops. Raising awareness is, of course, very important to us. We do it, first of all, through education. We have every year a summer guide position, a paid summer guide position. So somebody can join us during the summer, get to know Madeira, be trained by us, and, of course, enjoy beautiful sightings around here. We also support young scientists in every way we can, mostly through data, but we are very receptive to all kinds of collaborations. And we just recently launched our Kids Club, which is a great way of inspiring the little ones. The other part is, of course, through action. We do beach cleanups at every chance we get. Philippe from Greener Act will tell you a little bit more later about how we communicate these kind of events to the local and also touristic community. We also support local movements and worldwide initiatives, and of course petitions and various calls for action are provided to all of our guests.
So I will continue where Joanna left off. So my name is Paula and I'm a guide for Lobosonda. I've been working for Lobosonda for 3 years. I started as a summer guide and fell in love with the job, so I stuck around. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the philosophy, our company's philosophy, is integrated into our work at sea, and also what you can expect during a tour with Lobosonda. So generally, the objective during our tours is to give an honest picture of cetaceans and our oceans and answer questions like, why are they so important? What do we actually know about them? And what can we do to protect them? And we are lucky here in Madeira. Rosie already mentioned the mild climate here in Madeira. And this allows us to do whale watching all year round, which is obviously fantastic. We get to go out all year, especially here in Calheta, the warmer part of the island. We don't actually have a whale watching season. The season just actually determines the abundance of certain species and which ones we are more likely to encounter during a tour. And while we're on the subject, the stars of our show are obviously the cetaceans. We have 28 different cetacean species confirmed around Madeira. This is quite a variety, and you can just imagine, because the island's waters are so deep, you have several different species passing by throughout the year. So our sightings generally depend on what may be passing by. And now I'm just going to go through the most frequently sighted species and what you can expect during a tour. I'll start with the baleen whales. So most baleen whale species embark on these seasonal migrations, and Madeira and other oceanic islands are an ideal pit stop for these animals to just rest and feed. So we usually see solitary animals. We rarely see groups generally of baleen whales. We also sometimes see mothers with calves. Occasionally they even get curious and approach our boats, which is always really marvelous and allows us to take pretty pictures like the one you're seeing. And generally speaking, because we are here in the middle of the ocean, we can have many different kinds of species. We generally see 4 species of baleen whales very frequently. I'll explain a little bit about them in a minute. But on lucky days, we can also have other species like minke whales or breaching humpback whales, like the one you're seeing in the picture. So surprises are just always possible during our tour. Here are the 4 baleen whale species you can expect to see. Sei whales and Bryde's whales are mainly seen throughout the summer months, but sei whales can actually also be seen in scattered sightings throughout the year. Blue whales like to pass here during the spring months, and fin whales as well, but actually you can see fin whales more or less throughout the year. We actually started 2021 with a wonderful fin whale sighting. It was really spectacular, and we saw it as like good luck for the year. So that's great. So these are the baleen whales that we usually see. So if you come on a tour with us and you're looking to see a baleen whale, these are the 4 species that we see most frequently. But by far the majority of our sightings are with members of the toothed whale family. So the more social cetaceans. We rarely encounter solitary animals here. They're always in groups. And so you also observe this social behavior with the animals, which is always great to see. We even encounter them in mixed groups. So you'll have 2 or more species in the same sighting area, and either they're just in the same area or they're interacting with each other. Like here we have bottlenose dolphins and sperm whales, 2 of the more frequently sighted toothed whale species. And again, you have frequently sighted toothed whale species, quite a few, also some that we encounter occasionally. And on very lucky days, you can also have sightings with, for example, pygmy killer whales. This is actually a photo that was taken by a client on board on one of our tours. And yeah, it was a wonderful surprise. So again, surprises always possible here in Madeira. I'm going to start with the dolphins. Bottlenose dolphins can actually be seen throughout the year. Madeira is actually is a part of their Macaronesian home range, so it's a very important habitat for this species. And we also see several groups of striped dolphins throughout the year. We even have groups with calves coming here to Madeira. Spotted dolphins are very abundant during the summer months. These are very curious and very active dolphins that literally make up most of the sightings in summer. They're always fun to encounter. And short-beaked common dolphins are usually seen in the winter months. We often see them hunting, which is obviously also just great to observe. And as for the larger dolphins, short-fin pilot whales can be seen actually throughout the year. Resident groups have even been described for Madeira, so this is really a species that is almost emblematic for our island. False orcas come in autumn, and this is what they always deliver an absolutely dynamic sighting. We also have rough-toothed dolphins coming in the summer months. They prefer warmer waters, so they prefer that time of the year. And also rhesus dolphins, our spotter's favorite dolphins. This is because he can actually participate in the sighting somehow. You can see the white scarring below the surface of the water in summer. So he's also a part of the action. So he can also enjoy it. But either way, beautiful dolphins to see. Beaked whales are usually not at the top of the wish list amongst most whale watchers, but obviously they're incredible cetaceans to encounter. And we have a couple of beaked whale species coming here because the deep waters of Madeira are very inviting for these animals. But two species in particular. We usually see Cuvier's beaked whales in the summer months. We usually encounter them in very deep waters. And Blainville's beaked whales can actually be seen all year round. And in contrast to, the characteristic timid behavior, which you'd expect from most beaked whales, actually Blainville's beaked whales can get quite curious. And I think Madeira might be one of the best places to see this species. And of course, last but not least, the magnificent sperm whales. These obviously come in groups as well, mainly groups of females with calves and juveniles. Sometimes we also have the occasional nomadic bull coming here, and they obviously always deliver just spectacular sightings. High season is more towards the end of the summer, but it's again a species you can see all year round. Now, that's basically kind of a list with pretty pictures of all the cetaceans you can encounter around Madeira, or the ones we encounter most frequently. But we also make sure to show our guests other marine life, so they just get a general appreciation for our oceans. And here we have, for example, some marine birds, a few of many different marine birds that actually pass by Madeira. Like cetaceans, you have some birds that just fly past the island and just take a pit stop, and others that actually breed here, like the Cory shearwarts at the bottom right. We also have encounters with different species of fish, obviously, like sunfish, flying fish. Sometimes we get lucky and we can see sharks or even tuna hunting. We had a whale shark sighting, it was 2 years ago. So really, again, everything is possible there. We also see loggerhead turtles often basking at the surface, particularly in summer when the water is nice and flat and the sun is warm. And obviously Portuguese man of wars are also out there. So these are all the different animals. Our job, the job of the crew at sea is to engage on a very personal level with our guests. So what we want to communicate, we get to communicate it in a very personal way. Joanna mentioned the small groups. This also helps facilitate this. This allows us to answer questions of each and every guest, also in the appropriate languages. It always depends who's on board. We can also explain our method of approach, so people also see why we're approaching the animals in that way, why we're making certain maneuvers, how that is a reaction to the behavior of the animals. Also, we always give a bit of a biology lesson on board for those who enjoy it. Again, we want to create an appreciation for the ocean. So we always try to explain anything that just crosses our path out on the ocean. And this is all put into our blog. So this is kind of a personalized souvenir for our guests where they get all the photos that us guides make during the tour and they can see them in about a week after the tour. So we make a lot of photos. That's part of our job on board, as guides. But we also make photos for the scientific community here on the island. It's very important to us that we support that community and that every tour contributes to collecting data on cetaceans. This data obviously comes in the form of photos for photo ID catalogs, GPS data. Also, we list data on our sighting sheet and also list turtle sightings here on the island. And we obviously send this data to various institutions, including the Whale Museum, you just heard from Luis, and also others. And we also make sure to also participate in different kinds of research networks. This also allows us to learn more. And the more we know about cetaceans, the more correctly we can do our job. Joanna already mentioned as well that a very big part of our philosophy is to also raise awareness. And the sad reality of whale watching nowadays is that not all sightings are good sightings. And part of being an honest and responsible whale watching company is to also not hide this from guests, on the contrary, to actually show this reality and also do something about it. We do our best to collect as much plastic or other debris from the ocean as possible, and obviously also explain to our guests why this is harmful for animals and which species it is particularly harmful for. I don't know if you saw in the previous slide where I showed you the birds, there was a northern gannet. I forgot to mention it, so I'll mention it now. And it has a little bit of wire on its wings. So especially marine birds are really affected by this. So we always make sure to make people aware of that. Yeah, and in a nutshell, that's it. We hope some of our viewers enjoyed our photos and that little taste of whale watching in Madeira. And we think Madeira is a great place to just raise appreciation for the ocean, since it's got such a variety of marine life and this beautiful island as a backdrop. So we hope to see some viewers there.
That was incredible. I mean, I feel like I've seen so much wildlife that I had no idea that Madeira was at the center of. I've never seen a beaked whale, so I know you said in there, people aren't really coming for that, but I think that that's an incredible opportunity, just to think that that could be a possibility when you go out. So thank you so much, Joanna and Paula. That was absolutely wonderful. I know you had some really great questions and people chatting in. Remember, you can always ask a question in the comments there so that we can get those ready for Joanna and Paula when they join us in just a few minutes. We are going to go ahead and have Philippe join us now. So Philippe, if you want to go ahead and turn on your camera, we'll get you added into the group here. Awesome. Lovely to see you. Our next tour guide, Philippe Moreau, he is the founder of the Greener Act. He is responsible for sustainable tourism development of HBD Principe for the last 10 years. He believes we can regenerate positively the power of tourism and act more sustainably by traveling and acting more sustainably. And in my opinion, Philippe, you not only believe that, but you live it and you enable others to live it. So I'm really excited to hear more about the Greener Act and see what you have to share with us tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much, Amanda, for inviting me. And congratulations to the other presentation. They were super cool. I feel I've got big shoes to fill in. So there's something about being the last one in the presentation, you know. So I'm going to try to sharpen my pencils here. But it's great to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I'm going to go ahead and add your presentation to the screen. So if you want to put it into presentation mode, I will get it up there.
Yeah. Oh, what do I have? I've got stop sharing screen. Why do I have stop sharing screen? No. Share screen.
This is part of our adventure that we talked about. We've had so much tonight of the videos queued up and everything. So this is part of that adventure.
It's very exciting. There's always something. So can you see my presentation now or no?
I can see your presentation, but it's not in presentation mode.
And what about now?
Yes, perfect. There you go. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. So very nice to be here. Thank you, Amanda, for inviting us in the World Cetacean Alliance. And Joanna and Paula from Lobo Sonda, thank you for allowing me to participate to this webinar, and Luigi, great presentation as well from Museo da Baleia. So Greener Act, travel and act in a more sustainable way. So what is Greener Act? Greener Act is the first ever app which allows travelers to make positive changes by engaging in community projects and to support local causes in order to create a more sustainable world. So this app is for two entities. It's for the travelers and for the organization. So for the traveler to find out where, how, and when he can help when he's on holiday, and for the organization to be able to showcase their good practices. And you'll see after you can link them directly to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So our vision is when transformative travel meets sustainable development. And when we mean transformative travel, it really has to do with giving a bit of your time when you're on holiday, transforming a little bit your holiday experience in order to have a more positive impact in the destination that you're visiting. And our mission is to improve the livelihood of local communities, protect the natural environment, while contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations by traveling and acting in a more sustainable way. So we're going to dive now directly into the app, and I'm going to do a sharing screen, and I hope this time it works, because there's always a bit of a gamble when you're trying to do too much tech here. But oh, last time it worked, and this time, yes, 06. So I'm just going to wait, Amanda, to, if you tell me that you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see your phone screen now.
Oh, cool. Very good. So I am conscious there is a risk in sharing mobile screens, live, but I hope that I don't get any dodgy messages from my friends or family. So here you go, Greener Act. You can download it for free on iOS and Android. And so travel and act in a more sustainable way. And how does it work? You got 4 different sections. You got greener places, greener events, greener causes, and greener cluster. So greener places is an entity. It's an organization. It can be a hotel, travel agent. It can be a whale watching company, like I'm going to show you. It can be an association. So we got quite a lot here, but I'm going to find Lobo Sonda. Here we go. And we're gonna dive into that place, that greener place, just to show you a little bit how it works. So you've got, the first description of the place. You can contact them directly, book the experience directly. You've got their website, and after you got reviews, this is like TripAdvisor. You can do good reviews, you can do bad reviews as you wish. It's very transparent. You got the events that they're organizing, and after I'm going to dive more into this later on. But they're organizing a beach cleaning, organized last week a beach cleaning, and I'm going to tell you about it a bit later on. You got the greener causes, and after you got the commitment. This is a very interesting section, because this is where you link your commitments that you have in your company to the Sustainable Development Goals. So in that case, they've got, life below water, number 14, and they qualify their commitment. So they are committed to facilitating the protection of our ocean, and you can really describe what you're doing to defend the Sustainable Development Commitment. They've got a gender equality, which I don't think is right, because at the last beach cleaning, there's about 80% of women, and I didn't see any men actually from Lobo Sonda, so I think you've got a much higher rate on your gender equality. And you can showcase if you got any kind of certification, which they have. So you've got here their certification from the WCA, the World Cetacean Alliance. Bit of a mouthful, I must admit, for me. This is a greener place. Once you got a greener place, you can organize greener events. So I'm going to show you again the one they did a few weeks ago, or last week, I think. It was part of a depollution project that was in Madeira. It was in partnership with an NGO called Wings of the Ocean. It was a French company which were going from Madeira to the Azores to Canaries, and it's all about raising awareness about plastic pollution. So they did this event on Monday. It was a whole day event. It was really cool. You could see here, there's pictures of the event. There's all sorts of information. I didn't show you earlier on, but there's KPIs here. So you can really put your objective. They wanted to have about 30 volunteers. They wanted to collect 200 kilos of plastic waste, as well solid waste, 200 kilos. And after, you can see also who was interested in participating. So they had like 16 users of Greener Act who were interested in participated. And after, they only had, out of these 16, 7 people who actually participated in that event. Why is this important? Because after, I'll show you at the end of the presentation, you can retrieve some dashboards after each event, and these dashboards show your performance and your positive impact that you're having, and you can share them after on all social network and that you have. You have greener causes. So greener causes is really, creating a cause and doing a fundraising for a cause. I'm just going to give you a funny example here. There's this guy in Arizona who has biked 15 days to raise awareness for big cats in Zambia. And he has managed to gain 17 donations, more or less $1,000. And you can see here who are the top contributors, who are the most recent contributors. And how you donate is super easy. You click here. If you want to remain anonymous, because this is a very personal thing about donating money to a cause, you can remain anonymous. And this is done between the organizer and PayPal. Greener Act doesn't take any cut on this, because we believe that sustainability is about transparency. So there's no commission on that transaction. And finally, you got Greener Cluster. Greener Cluster is a group of different greener places. And once you have a cluster, you can retrieve all that digital information on your performance. It's on a monthly basis. So I give you an example here. We've got a cluster in Fuerteventura, which is a biosphere reserve. They've got all their places linked to that cluster. I'm thinking about actually that would be very cool to have one for the Whale Cetacean Alliance. All these companies be linked under a cluster that you can really monitor your performances and engagement. So I'm going to stop now sharing here, and I'm just going to show you one dashboard. And I'm glad I didn't have any weird messages on this presentation. And I'm going to just go here and share. Stop here and share again. This one here, exactly. I'm going to show you. So hopefully, oh no, yes, hopefully you'll be seeing a dashboard now. And if you don't see it, tell me, Amanda, but hopefully you'll be seeing this now. I know it's not a full screen, but
I believe so. I believe we're seeing your dashboard, and it is not a full screen.
Anyway, it's good because I'm going to show after 2 or 3 things like this. I don't have to swap, from sharing. So this is the dashboard of that event that Lobosonda organized last week. So you can see the description. You can see after how many people using the app participated. So 23 interested, 7 participated. You can see the sustainable development goals that they were defending on that event. So you can see their KPIs. They wanted to have 30 volunteers. They ended up by having 70. So it was a very successful event. So the success rate of 233%. You can see that they exceeded their collection in plastic. They exceeded their collection in solid waste. You can also see some comments from the organizers, and after you can see some pictures of the event. These dashboards, you can have them right after you finish the event, and you can share them on all your social network. Another thing I'm just going to tell you quickly about is that, so we creating some strategic partnership. One of them, I didn't show you that, but Futurismo that you had yesterday on the presentation, which was a great presentation from this Spanish girl. We just established a strategic partnership because they've got a 1-year project. They want to engage with 2,850 people. They want to collect 21,800 kilos of plastic waste. And they want to compensate by offering excursion of the value of 78,390. So we partnered with them because once a month they're going to have these collection days, and Greener Act will be monitoring this and making sure that everything happens. And this is a real sustainable journey that the Azores is doing. So we're very happy to have partnered with them on that specific partnership. And the last but not least, is about the digital nomads in Madeira. Probably you have heard of that. They're having a great impact because they're having a lot of awareness. Very few travelers in Madeira. The only ones who are traveling are the digital nomads. And it's not only about going into a destination, sucking up all the bandwidth and going, the internet going, like this for all the other users. They want to have a positive impact as well. So there's this company called Nomad Giving Back. It's an international company of the digital nomads, linking all the nomads in the world. So you can see that they're really everywhere. And this is the first guide that they're doing. They're testing this in Madeira. So it's the Digital Nomad Guide. We just signed up with them, Greener Act. Lobosonda is as well a strategic partner of that new venture, and they support as well the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. And we really hope that with that, these nomads will have a positive impact on the environment. They'll be able to participate in all these events that we're going to be creating and leave, a positive legacy, once they leave the island. So I think I'm going to stop there because I know it's a very fast presentation, but I just want to let you know you can download for free the app on iOS and Android. And if you want to help us to kickstart the sustainable revolution, download Greener Act and join us in this really interesting journey.
Philippe, thank you so much. As somebody that is an avid traveler, I think that an app like this takes us beyond just the cetacean impact, right? So for me, I love interacting with whales, dolphins, and porpoises, but it's certainly not the only travel that I've done. So I love this with the Greener Act, where I can really, instead of going for a hike, I can go onto the beach and do an activity like this that I feel is actually contributing to better the place.
Sure.
And I know,
Yeah, I mean, it's we're just giving a platform for people, organizations who want to do good things with their travelers to be able to use it. I'll give you an example. In Madeira, there's this company now. They're going to start organizing Levada walks, which were Rosie referred to them, which are these water irrigation channels. There's about nearly 2,000 kilometers of these Levada walk in Madeira. They're a fantastic attraction, and they're going to do Levada walks while picking up the trash. And using GreenEract for that. Very simple, but it's a way to really have a positive impact on the island.
That's fantastic. And I know we did send this out to quite a few digital nomad groups. So hopefully, a few of those might be with us as well. Because that's certainly a group, that we want to try to get onto responsible and sustainable tourism. So thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing, as all of our presentations have been. I'm going to go ahead and get everybody on board here so that we can kind of move on to our Q&A. This is where we get to turn it over to you and all of your questions. So please keep putting those questions in the chat so that we can share those today. Jess is going to help us moderate those questions. I'll start us off on our first one, and then I'll let her run from there. My first question to you would be, what's one activity that tourists do that you would say they should avoid? So what's one thing that maybe they might see that's available in Madeira that maybe they should not participate in? Any advice in that area?
That's an extremely good question. At the top of my head, I don't think of anything that would be prejudiced to the environment. Obviously there are ways to do it more sustainably, and that's why we're here today. But I don't think there is one activity that is bad for the environment. I just believe that some companies could evolve to being better in that aspect.
And I think that, if I may say, I think that because of this association, people will be looking out to what you guys are doing. You are, the beacon here in terms of responsibility and the whale watching that you're doing. And the other people who are not certified will start looking at what you're doing and will surely join, because it's in everybody's interest that you just raise that level of, responsibility, sustainability, So I think that Global Sonder and the region in the museum, they're doing a great job for that.
Yes, I agree. I think we have great companies here, and as Rosie was saying, I also can think of one activity that should not, I think generally Madeira is a very aware of sustainability, and of course we can always improve, but there's not something that we can point out that goes against any of our moral or values,
Yeah. I agree.
Maybe having a Porsche and start driving around the island. A few Porsches.
Sorry, Amanda, a Porsche is a traditional drink that's with rum, made by the base of it is rum. So we don't advise people to drink after that, to drive after.
Especially with all the roads on cliffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think one of the challenges is to avoid massification of any activity. So if things are done within limits, you can take the most out of them without compromising the future and the long-term perspective, which is what we want to achieve with sustainability. So I guess we are not perfect, but I guess everyone, or most people and most institutions and companies, are more and more focused on those goals, especially in environments like islands, which are very confined and which are very sensitive to any major exploitation of whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's also the point of sustainability, to also grow. Nobody's perfect. You can't, and this is why this exchange between, for example, now when it comes to whale watching, between whale watching companies and scientific institutions, or also working with networks like the one Philippe has created, and obviously with the World Cetacean Alliance always giving us guidelines. It's just important to always improve. We don't know everything about cetaceans. That also makes them so much more exciting and so much more wonderful. And so we have to be open to learning more. And that's, I think, just a very big point about sustainability, just exchanging.
I think it's to do better than do more. So you just try to do better than to do more, and then we'll find a balance in there.
Yeah.
Correct. And if I may add to that, I totally agree with you, Luis. Is try to do better. And sustainability, sometimes people are quite afraid of that word. It means a lot of paperwork and quite a lot of investment. But it's about doing small steps. Sustainability is a journey, and once you start to embrace it, it's about doing small steps. And you're never there. You never get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's a journey. It's a way of life. And if you manage to give this to your stakeholders, the people in your company, your clients, it's really a great added value that you can have.
Wonderful. What other questions do we have, Jess?
Hi. So we don't have too many questions, actually. We've got plenty of people watching, but I think you must have all answered any of the questions that they might have had. But what I might do is, from yesterday, we actually had one question that didn't get answered, but I believe the person that asked it is actually with us today. It's a question from Marco Detto, and he said he'd be interested in knowing what the opinion of the local population was when whale watching stopped whaling, so to speak. So the transition from whaling into whale watching. This was from yesterday in the Azores, but I'm presuming it's very relevant to the Madeira Islands as well. So yeah, if that could start us off.
Well, I guess I can step in. As any change, it is always a challenge, because people they have they are used to certain activities. Many of them link those activities, like whaling, to their survival, to their livelihoods, and so changing the way you perceive the world and the way you do things can be a challenge. But what I would say is that overall, that change has been very welcome by the locals, because in the case of Madeira, the most impact of whaling was in Canissal, the village where the Whale Museum is. And one of the good signs of that transition is the fact that people in Canissal see the museum as their own. They have this bond, this link with the museum. And the museum not only preserves the heritage of whaling, but actually works towards a sustainable use of the whales and dolphins, which could go against their interests if they were pro-whaling by core, which is not. They evolved, and they understand that we need to have a more sustainable approach, and that whaling could not be sustained throughout life. Having said this, when you talk to some whalers, because they live that with so much heart, they still miss the period, and they have this I would say romantic link to that time, which doesn't mean that they don't recognize the possible harm they were doing, because they do. They sometimes don't want to admit it, but on the other hand, they still have this very romantic image of their youth and of the challenges of facing those wonderful monsters of the sea and huge, amazing creatures. And so you find this double sense feeling that they have, which they love, but they still see those animals as a challenge and as a way of showing their masculinity and their ability to take on life. I would say that. So it's a wonderful thing, and which should be respected. And but again, on the new generations, there's a completely different perspective towards the whales and dolphins.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that actually leads in really nicely to a really lovely comment we had from Caroline Arman, who she shared a story where she was on a project documenting cetacean sightings from Madeira Island ferries. And she went to visit the museum. And one of the guides struck up a conversation with her and actually told her that her grandfather was a whaler back in the 1940s, and just sort of highlighted the fact that, you know, jobs were few. You were either a fisher, whaler, canal worker, or, a farmer, so to speak, and that they didn't always get a lot of money, so it was a very hard job. And at the time, it's, I suppose, what people had. But she said that she asked her that sort of similar question about what the local people thought. And she answered the guide that was working there. She said, "I've worked here for 4 years now. When I started, I told my co-worker, I'm going to talk to my friends. My co-worker said, I don't see any of your friends. And she said, these people here, they are why I have a job and can make a living, and they are my friends." So I just thought that was such a lovely sentiment, and it shows how the generations have moved from whaling to working at a whale museum that's trying to protect them, all from one family. So yeah, that's really lovely and very special to have on an island and have everyone in that community, I think.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. And in terms of other questions, we haven't got any new ones that have popped through, I don't believe. I'll just have a check. So yeah, if anybody does have any questions, now is your chance. So yeah, fire away.
I do have another question for the team that I don't know if we've covered yet. What are the COVID restrictions right now in Madeira? So if somebody wanted to travel to Madeira, what are some of the things that they need to know or keep in mind to do that as safely and responsibly as they can?
Thank you, Amanda. I think I can jump in, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, it really depends on what country you're flying from. There are a lot of different restrictions, but mainly in Madeira, if you have a direct flight to Madeira, we offer a free PCR test upon arrival. So if you don't have a vaccination, we also have a green corridor for vaccination. So if you don't have a vaccine, you can also do a PCR test on arrival. If your country by chance gives you a free PCR test before you depart to Madeira, we also supply on return. So if you don't use it when you're coming in, you can use it as you're going out. So hopefully the PCR expense won't be a burden for people who are traveling to Madeira. In terms of restrictions, well, we're very proud to say that we don't have much restrictions at the moment. We're moving very freely. We just lifted a small curfew that we had at the end of the evening just last week. So our curfew now is from 11 p.m., so after dinner, until 5 a.m. in the morning, which is completely reasonable. And it really feels like we've been living a completely normal life out here in Madeira. It's a bit sad to say this, I guess, but we're very lucky. And I think everybody here on this screen, Philippe, Louis, Joanne, and Paula, we really do feel, like we've been blessed almost to be here out in Madeira. It's the perks of living on an island, makes everything easier to control and contain. And Madeira did a great job in implementing all these restrictions and ways to fly in safely to control the pandemic. So it really depends on where you are at the moment and depends on flight availability. But we're more than open to receive tourists at the moment.
And if I may add something to that, and thank you, Rosie. And because the government has done an incredible job in monitoring and offering these free PCR tests on arrival, we are at the forefront now of getting the tourists back. And right now, I've just saw that England has
absolutely. I was going to say
into the green list, one of the only European countries to do that. So Portugal is on the UK green list as of the 17th of May. And that's due to the incredible work which has been done here locally, really to control and to have a very effective vaccination program. So all due to the local government or the regional government who has done that.
Absolutely. We've done a great job. And it really was really good news. I just received the news about 2 minutes before we started the webinar, and I was just kind of clapping. So for anybody that's out there from the UK, you're welcome to come to Madeira.
I think I'll be booking a flight soon after this.
There you go.
17, you have to wait a week. 10 days.
Joanna and Paula, did you have anything to add to that?
I don't think so.
Girls, say hi to Young.
Awesome. It sounds like we have some background noise there as well. We do have.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
No, I was just saying we've had somebody called Flo saying, Joanna and Paula, can you please give a shout out to JC Fisher, who is watching right now?
Hi, JC Fisher. Who worked for us that's one slide that from Joanna's presentation,
Yes,
where you see a summer guide waving from the boat. That's Jan, and he used to work for us. And yes. Hi, Jan.
Great. We had he was here during a summer, and he was great, and still in touch with us. So hi, Jan. We hope to welcome you back soon.
As you can see, Amanda, Madeira is a nostalgic place. Anybody who comes here really feels they're at home.
We've had somebody called Silvana Thom, I believe, saying she just wants to say to the Lobosonda team that they're doing a fantastic job, and they can't wait to be back and to send hugs.
Wonderful.
Yeah, hi, Silvana.
Silvana, they visit us a lot and do a lot of tours with us. When they come for 1 week or 2, and they are almost every day on board. So they are real whale watchers.
They're total connoisseurs.
Yeah.
They know. They just know they could do some introductions or briefings with us practically for so long, and this is wonderful. This kind of gives us a bit of this family feeling as well, kind of with our guests, and makes
wonderful. That's great. Thank you so much, Jess, for sharing all of those comments and questions from everybody that's been watching. And thank you so much for watching tonight. Before we go, I do just want to highlight if there's any, how can people get a hold of Lobosonda? If they want to book with Lobosonda, what's the best way to get in connection with Joanna and Paula?
So you can always, our website is always up to date. You can contact us by email. We have online booking systems, and I think email or by phone. All contacts are on our website, and also we are very active on social media. So you can always stay up, just keep you updated with what we are doing on our blog or social media.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Does anybody else also Greener Act? You can download Greener Act for Android or iPhone. I imagine I have an Android, and I was able to download it. Is that right, Philippe?
Correct. You can just go on the website www.greeneract.com, and you've got the 2 icons there. You can download it directly for free.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I have to say, I'm pretty much speechless after listening to all of this incredible information. But all good trips have to come to an end. So it's time to pack up our virtual suitcases and head back to home, taking that virtual plane home. We have had 2 wonderful nights here where we have been able to take a trip to the Azores, and then tonight to Madeira. You can find those videos on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, and we want to keep providing these. So let us know if there's some places that you're interested in visiting, so that we can do that as some of our next locations as we go around the world. And remember, when you book your next Whale Watch tour, make sure that you check for that responsible whale watch emblem from the World Cetacean Alliance. You can also check out some of our World Heritage sites to ensure that you're supporting those regions that are celebrating and protecting our marine mammal friends. If you'd like to support our mission of a world where cetaceans are only found in the wild, are respected and fully protected, and live in sustainable habitats and harmony with people everywhere, then you can donate or visit our website to make sure that you are making those sustainable and responsible choices. And obrigada to everybody that spoke tonight, to all of our tour guides, to Jess for monitoring our chat, and muito obrigada to everybody that joined us and watched us. A big thank you for all of those that participated in our live stream. We appreciate you taking the time out of your evening and learning how to visit beautiful Madeira in a way that respects both the people and the wildlife that call it home. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.